Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Motor Drive. Today, we're covering the evolution of the Nissan Skyline, one of the most iconic cars not only in Japanese culture, but the entire automotive world. With over 60 years on the road, the Skyline has seen it all. Be sure to watch to the end to find out where the Godzilla nickname came from. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get started. The original. The Skyline debuted in 1957, but it wasn't Nissan who manufactured it. Prince Motor Company originally introduced the Skyline as a luxury vehicle, taking clear inspiration from American cars in this period, with a mix of Ford and Chevrolet styling. Prince Motors released a GT racing Skyline in 1964, which really marked the shift from a luxury sedan to a race car. Nissan and the Prince Motor Company merged in 1967. The Nissan Prince Skyline. The Skyline finally became a Nissan in 1969. It was still a sedan, but it was a touring car like no other, producing 160 horsepower. The Nissan Prince Skyline destroyed its competition in Japan's domestic touring races, winning 52 races in its first 3 years of competing. The first two-door variant was introduced in 1970, and the launch was successful. Unfortunately, due to a global gasoline crisis, which triggered stricter emission standards, the Skyline was put on the shelf for the time being. The Skyline C110. From 1972, Nissan produced what was known during this period as the Datsun K-Series, before a name change 4 years later, which it was named what we refer to today as the R30 Skyline. This variant was highly successful. With its versatile design, it was available in 26 variations of the model, ranging from a coupe to a four-door wagon. This model was still a way off what the Skyline would really become. The R31 Skyline. Debuted in 1986, this one was a little bigger and boxier than previous models. Available in a coupe, four-door, saloon and estate, this was the first Skyline to use Nissan's RB series of inline-six engines. The performance variant was introduced in 1987, named the GTS-R. It was a homologation special for competing in Group A touring car racing. This turbocharged engine produced an output of 207 brake horsepower. The R32 Skyline GT-R. By this point, the Skyline had been through many phases, but 1989 marked the first real signs of what the GT-R is today. The R32 came with all-wheel drive, as well as the famed Nissan Inland 6 we discussed earlier, pumping out 280 horsepower. This car wasn't sold in the American market, but the JDM model was still a legend within the American tuner community, with many importing and modifying to meet US emission regs. Like its predecessors, a bare-bones R32 entered the Japanese Touring Car Championships in 1989, winning every race it started. 29 in a row, in fact, over 4 seasons. This was where the nickname Godzilla first came about, paying attention to its monster performances on the track. The R33 Skyline. Appearing as a prototype at the Tokyo Motor Show in 1993, it was released to the public in 1995 with the 2.6-litre inline-six engine from the R32, although Nissan did tweak the turbo. The R33 also received optimised traction control, better weight distribution and improved body stiffness, which resulted in a faster, more stable and all-round more exciting car to drive. The Nismo division introduced the 400R with a 2.8-litre variant, which produced a whopping 395 horsepower, however only 44 units were sold. The R34 Skyline. Introduced in 1998, this variant was the poster child for a generation, and some may regard this as the peak of the Skyline generations. This model was set apart by the technological advancements from previous years. The same engine from previous models was under the bonnet again, however with more improvements to the turbo and intercooler, pushing the horsepower up to 330 horsepower, despite the gentleman's agreement from the factory. All this combined with a shorter wheelbase and more streamlined body made the R34 the greatest performing Skyline by some distance. The R35 GT-R. 6 years after production of the R34 Skyline ceased, the GT-R finally landed on American soil. It seemed that Nissan was desperate to separate the GT-R from the Skyline range. It was the first of the range to be exported to the US and received a new 3.8-litre twin-turbo V6, pushing out 473 horsepower. This power propelled the GT-R to speeds above many legendary muscle cars and supercars. The model became a legend overnight, with its technological advancements and muscular yet sleek design. It's a car that makes you want to push it to its limit every time you sit in the driver's seat, and even though it's not a true Skyline, it sure features true Skyline performance and thrills.